All right, so I just realized that I forgot to record this in my regular class. So I'm going to record the first two examples for lesson 1.2, which is the absolute value function. So the absolute value function, f of x is the absolute value of x, is the absolute value function on a number line. This function f of x describes the distance of any number x from the origin. So the absolute value of x is 4, means that x is a number 4 units from a distance of 4. So if the absolute value of x is 4, then x is either 4 or negative 4. So 4, that means it's 4 units away from our origin, which is true. And if we take x is negative 4, as you can see, even though it's on the negative side, negative 4 is still 4 spots away from the origin. Okay, so regardless, that means the absolute value of negative 4 and the absolute value of 4 is still positive 4 because it is 4 units from 0. So the absolute value of x, so x is the element of the real number. So here we're talking about our domain. So the absolute value of x, so it's positive x if x is greater than or equal to 0, is negative x if x is less than 0. So why might you predict the range of your graph to be greater than or equal to 0? Because based off our definition, the absolute value is just the distance from the origin, okay? And the distance from the origin is always going to be positive. Distance from the origin is always positive. So when we draw our absolute value graph, we have 0, 0, 1, 1, negative 1 and 1. We have 6 and positive 6, and negative 6 and positive 6. So if we draw the graph out, we get a V shape. As you can see, negative 6 is still 6 units away from the origin. And positive 6 is still 6 units away from the origin. So even though the x value might be negative, the absolute value still remains a positive number because it is just defined as the distance from the origin or its point of reference, the absolute value. So example 1, we want to evaluate 5 minus negative 9 plus 3 times absolute value of 5 minus 12. So we get absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of negative 9 is 9, plus 3 times the absolute value of negative 7. So we get 5 minus 9 plus 3 times the absolute value of negative 7, which is positive 21. So we get 5 minus 9 plus 21. So we get 26 minus 9, which gives us an answer of 17. So 5 minus 9, absolute value of negative 9, plus 3 times the absolute value of negative 7 gives us an answer of 17. So for our next example, we have solve for x if absolute value of x minus 7 is equal to 3. So for here, we have to do two cases. Case 1 and case 2. The reason why is because there's going to be a negative x value that gives us an absolute value of 3, and a positive x value that's going to give us a value of 3 back. So our case 1, we're just going to simply take x minus 7 is equal to 3. To get x is equal to 3 plus 7, x is equal to 10. Now if you want to check your answer, go ahead. So we're going to sub in x for 10. So you get the absolute value of 10 minus 7 is equal to 3. You get absolute value of 3 is equal to 3. And the absolute value of 3, which means 3 is equal to 3, which means we are good to go. Now we need to take our case 2. So for case 2, we're going to do x minus 7 is equal to negative 3. because we can also have a x value that gives the absolute value a negative, but it can also give us back an absolute value of 3. So we're going to rearrange the equation. So we get x is equal to negative 3 plus 7. We get x is equal to positive 4. And now what we have to do is check. So we get absolute value of 4 minus 7 is equal to 3. We get absolute value of negative 3 is equal to 3. But because the absolute value is just the amount of units away from the origin, it's always going to be a positive number. So the absolute value of negative 3 is 3, and 3 is equal to 3, which gives us a left side equals right side case, which means our answer is correct. So when you have cases like this, you're always going to do 2 cases, one case with a positive value and one case with a negative value. So therefore, our solution for this equation is x is equal to 10 and x is equal to negative 4. So I'll be uploading this as soon as possible, along with marking your exit tickets.